JNNC Technologies Private Limited Software Training Institute in Visakhapatnam.
History of Selenium. Today we are going to go very basic and we will look at the birth of Selenium Core and RC, WebDriver, Selenium Grid, Selenium IDE. We will also look at how did Selenium 1, 2 and 3 came into existence. We will look at the release history and why is Selenium named so. By the end of this session, you will have a complete overview on the history of Selenium. Let us begin. The story starts in 2004 when Jason Huggins, an engineer at ThoughtWorks, was working on a web application that required very frequent testing and it was hard to manage it, so he wrote a JavaScript program that could interact with the browsers and do actions. He called it JavaScript Test Runner. He started giving demos about this tool to the internal team, and soon there were discussions to make this tool open source. However, there was a problem, and that was same origin policy issue. And this policy says that if a JavaScript which is within a domain is accessing web pages within that domain, it cannot access any web pages outside that domain due to security reasons. So let us understand this. Suppose you have a domain called google.com and there is a JavaScript. It can access all the web pages within that domain, but it cannot access any web page outside that domain. And this was the policy, and this restricted the code Selenium JavaScript to interact with other web pages. To overcome this policy issues, Paul Hammond started working on a server and he created it so that it can act as an HTTP proxy to trick the browser to believe that Selenium Core and the web application being tested come from the same domain, and he called it Selenium Remote Control. Also, Patrick Lightbody was majorly involved in this project and he made Selenium RC stable for large-scale deployments. In 2004, Selenium was made open source. In 2006, Selenium RC, which had overcome the same origin policy issue, took completely over Selenium Core and was released as Selenium 1. In 2006, Shinya Kasetani of Japan created Selenium IDE, which was a Firefox add-on, and it has the capabilities to record and replay the browser actions. He donated it to the Selenium project in 2006. Simon Stewart in 2007 was working at ThoughtWorks and he started working on a project to overcome the limitations of Selenium 1 and he called it WebDriver. So in Selenium 1 we always require a server to interact with the web browser. However, in WebDriver every browser had its own driver and with the help of an API all the information was exchanged, so there was no need for a separate server. And during the same time, Jason Huggins left ThoughtWorks to join Google, where he continued his work on Selenium 1. So in 2011, the two tools, Selenium 1 and WebDriver, were merged to form Selenium 2 and released in July 2011. And if you go to this official announcement blog of Selenium, you can see July 8, 2011, we have the announcement for Selenium 2. In 2007, Philippe Henrique started working on a server tool to enable parallel executions of the Selenium test. So that means that you can run your Selenium test parallelly across different machines and on different operating system and browsers, and he named it as Selenium Grid. And there is a little confusion about the creator of Selenium Grid. In most of the online resources you will find that Patrick Lightbody is the person who is claimed to have created Selenium Grid. However, I have done a little search on that and I have found out that Philip Henrique is the person who actually created Selenium Grid, and Patrick Lightbody was the major contributors in Selenium RC, which actually helped extending Selenium Grid. So there is this online article. If you go here, this is an article written in October 4, 2007, the same time when Selenium Grid came into market. And if you go down to the comment section, you will find this comment by Philippe Henrique himself, and he says that I'm the principal author of Selenium Grid. So I think that clears the confusion. Also, there is another article I have found again during the same time, it was in 2008, and here it is said that I have been working with Selenium Grid since Philippe Henrique and others at ThoughtWork released it at the end of last year. And also, if you go to the official Selenium page and you go to About section, and you go to this link of who made Selenium, you will get all the Selenium contributors. And if I if I try to find out Selenium Grid, you will see Philippe Henrique is the creator and primary contributors of Selenium Grid. And if I try to find out Patrick Lightbody, he is the co-creator of Selenium Remote Control. So I hope that clears the confusion. Also, in my last session, I have made the same mistake where I will add a correction note. In 2011, WebDriver and Selenium 1 projects were merged, and Selenium 2.0 was born and released in July 2011. Selenium 3 is the latest release of Selenium, which came in 2016, and with Selenium 3, the core Selenium is now deprecated and dropped, so all the implementations of Selenium Core are replaced with WebDriver compatible components, and you will no longer find the Selenium Core available for download from the official site of Selenium, and this is a link where you can go to get the older releases of Selenium. Let us look at the release history of Selenium now. So Selenium 1.0 came in 2006, where we had the Selenium Core, and in 2.0 we had Selenium Core being actively maintained, but then we also had Selenium WebDriver in 2011. In 2016, we had Selenium 3.0 released to the market, where Selenium core libraries were dropped, and now we have Selenium WebDriver being actively developed. Also, if we look at the roadmap ahead for Selenium, Selenium or the WebDriver team are working on creating a W3C compatible WebDriver, and W3C or World Wide Web Consortium is an international body that creates standards for World Wide Web. And if we have a W3C compatible WebDriver, that will mean that every browser will have its own implementation of WebDriver, and then WebDriver will be so powerful it can do any actions on the browser. So this is what the roadmap ahead is, and with Selenium 4.0 we will have a W3C compatible WebDriver, and the current WebDriver will be actively maintained. And in 5.0 the plan is the current WebDriver will be dropped and we will only have W3C compatible WebDriver. And if you go online to this link, you can see as of January 2017 the specs are being written, and Simon Stewart, who is the creator of WebDriver, is actively involved. So this is what the roadmap ahead for WebDriver is looking like. So if we look at the history of Selenium, in 2004 we had Jason Huggins creating Selenium at ThoughtWorks, and Paul Hammond and Patrick Lightbody working on Selenium RC, and Selenium went open source during the end of 2004. Then in 2006 we had Selenium IDE being developed by Shinya Cassatani, and also Selenium 1 got released. In 2007, we had Simon Stewart creating WebDriver, and also Jason Huggins left ThoughtWorks to join Google. In 2007, we had the birth of Selenium Grid, which was released in 2007. And then in 2011, we had Selenium 2 coming into picture, where WebDriver was merged with Selenium 1. Also, the latest release of Selenium is Selenium 3, where the core libraries were dropped. So this is in a nutshell the history of Selenium for you. So we have seen this in our last session that we have these four major components of Selenium, and Jason Huggins being the primary creators of Selenium, and then we have Paul Hammond for Selenium RC, Shinya Cassatani, Selenium IDE, Simon Stewart for WebDriver, and Philippe Henrique, the primary creators of Selenium Grid. So there is this question, why was Selenium named so? During the time when Selenium was being developed, there was another tool called QTP which was being developed by Mercury Interactive. And mercury is a chemical compound, and in one of the emails, Jason Huggins jokingly said that you need selenium supplements to cure mercury poisoning. The name caught on from there, and from then onwards, we call this project or the tool as Selenium. In today's helpful tips section, because we are discussing the history of Selenium, I will give you some links which will take you back in time. The first link is about the official first release announcement of Selenium, and this is the link. If you go here, you will see this is the official announcement that made Selenium available to the world. So you can go here and really, read this 2004 announcement. It is going to be very interesting. The second link is about the emails that were floating around in 2004, and this is the link. If you go here, you will see these are the emails that the creators of Selenium was sending that time, and it is back in 2004. If you click on any of these links, you can read all the emails, right? So this is again will be very interesting. And then we have this link for the official Selenium project on GitHub. If you go to this link, you will find this is the Selenium HQ project, and it has 91 releases, and the last commit was done just 3 days ago. So here you will find this is the page where all the project and online repository of Selenium is being maintained. I hope the history of Selenium is now very clear to you. I will meet you in the next